What is up, everybody? My name is Justin. This is Forever Self-Employed. In today's video, I'm joined with my buddy Tim. We're going to be doing episode 5 of the painting job recap series with Tim. Now, before we get into this one, links as always for all the equipment that Tim will be using in this video will be in the comment section and the description. Those are Amazon links. If you click through and purchase anything within a 24-hour period, Tim will receive a small commission, and we will both greatly appreciate you for that. Also, if you do enjoy this series, be sure to give it a thumbs up, as it really does help us out. I'm joined with Tim. Tim, how's it going, man?
It's going really good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So can you tell us about this job and how you got it?
Yeah, this job was a returning client. I got hired last November to repaint the trim. And then in the meantime, he decided to repaint the garage to spruce up the front of the house. Well, after he did that, he noticed that the stucco was severely faded because it gets a lot of extreme weather. And he hired me in to come and repaint the stucco.
So we're going to be repainting the stucco, not the entire house though, correct?
Correct. Only two sides, only the two sides that get exposed to the extreme weather.
How did you go about quoting a job like this?
Okay, so quoting the jobs is a little tricky. It took me a really long time to get it dialed in. But for this particular job, you know, I've been doing it for a while and I looked at it and I could estimate that it's going to take me roughly 3 days to do it. I know that I want to be making about $300 a day, $200 to $300 a day to do it. So I figured if it took me 3 days, I'd be making $900. So I add on $100 for incidentals, any kind of headaches that I might not be seeing at the time of the estimate. And then just, you know, try my best to get it done in 3 days. Now, if I can knock it out in before 3 days, then, you know, I did well. But another way to do it is to measure it out. And I'm pretty confident that if I did measure it out and use the standard method of estimating, that it still would have came out to about $1,000.
And we didn't factor in materials at all. So did the homeowner provide the materials for this job?
Yes, sir. So he hired me just for labor costs only. He had already had the material. As I said before, like he painted the garage door. So he already had some material to start with. So he just said that he'd pay for the material, those are typically like the best ones, because really factoring the material, there's a lot of rooms for error because
Right.
You could overbuy or underbuy. So this was the best scenario. He's kind of hired you in just for labor.
Right. And so obviously the worst case scenario would be if you overbought. What would you do in that scenario though?
In the scenario of overbuying paint, now I use a lot of Kellymore paints, and Kellymore, they have basic like standardized colors. They call them pre-mix. Now there's like a common 5 types of off-white, and there's a common 5 tans, a common 5 blues. You see what I'm saying? So there's these common colors that get used by production crews when they're doing new construction. There's the real common standard base. So if you're in that realm, like let's say one of those, for example, is Swiss coffee. Swiss coffee is a common. So if I bought too much Swiss coffee in a premium product, I can return it. But in this case, it wasn't a premium, it was a mixed, and it was not a pre-mixed paint. So in this case, if I would have overbought, you just eat it. I mean, you eat it for breakfast or dinner, whichever you prefer.
Right. And so have you ever had a customer that like provided the materials, however they bought the wrong kind of paint?
Yes, that's definitely happened too. And I always make it real clear that when they say that they'll buy material, I try to make it very clear to not buy the cheapest material, because it will extend the labor time and the price will go up if they bring me back cheap material. And the reason being is the cheaper stuff typically doesn't cover as much area as the more expensive stuff. And just like with anything, you get what you paid for. You buy the more expensive paint, you're going to get more coverage.
On our last video, people were asking a lot about the back rolling and why you didn't back roll in that scenario. So how do you determine whether or not to back roll on these jobs?
You most of the time, 99% of the time, you're going to want to always back roll. And by back rolling, what that does is it penetrates that top surface layer of material. And for this case, it was a stucco job. So you definitely absolutely want to back roll. If you're not back rolling, there are cases and scenarios where you won't back roll. A lot of times it's because the type of stucco it is, or if it's a smooth plaster, because you're going to get these like lap lines. And what lap lines are is they're lines. It's not going to look smooth. So it's kind of a tricky decision whether or not to back roll. But 9 times out of 10, the rule of thumb is just always back roll.
What would you say was the hardest part about this job?
Hardest part about this job was the heat. Now we were dealing with some heat, so we were having to start very early and try to work with the shade. So instead of maybe starting, the top left corner of the house and doing clockwise, I'll maybe be starting at the bottom right corner of the house to avoid being in the sun, because temperature is a major factor when you're painting. You don't want to paint if the temperature is above 100 degrees. And that's surface temp. If the air is 100 degrees, you can expect a surface that's in that's exposed to the sun's going to be at least 120 degrees warmer.
Right. So did the heat factor into this paint job at all?
Yes, I had to really, I was painting this house by myself, so I really had to go fast, man, because there's not a lot of time. Once you're spraying that paint on, it's immediately starting to dry. So you have to make sure that you do a section big enough that you're able to spray, but then you're also able to back roll before it dries.
All right, Tim, the video is wrapping up now. So we're going to need a word of the day. What would you like the word of the day to be?
The word of the day is hydrate, because it was hot on this job.
Right. If you made it this far in the video, comment down below the word hydrate, and I will hashtag you a real one. My name is Justin. This is Forever Self-Employed. And until next time,
hustle hard and get that money, baby.
Peace.